Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is your
excellent
Photo News Fix. This fix is brought to you by the Opera browser. It's time to ditch your default browser and join over 350 million people who have already done just that. Whether you're on a Mac, PC, Linux, or a Chromebook, you can take advantage of Opera's built-in ad blocker, but you can't block me because I'm a burnt-in video. You can get a free VPN, integrated messenger, a pin board, and so much more. Usually when I travel, I'm hesitant to connect to hotels' Wi-Fi, but with the Opera browser, I simply activate the free VPN, which doesn't log my activity or collect any information. Now, did I mention that the VPN is free? Yeah, it's free. On top of that, I'm loving the sidebar that gives me easy access to all of my messaging apps from Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. There's even a pin board, which is great for collecting content and taking notes. Opera also gives me easy access to all of the popular streaming music apps in one place. Now, I think you should give it a shot. Head on over to opera.com to download the Opera browser for free. First up, GoPro has released what they are calling the Hero 10 Black. The key word here is bones, as in bare bones.
The bones have spoken!
Basically, what GoPro did is strip out everything that wasn't needed to make a super light, drone-ready GoPro camera. The camera still includes the same image sensor as the Hero 10, same GP2 processor, same hyper-smooth 4.0, and still shoots all the way up to 5.3K video and weighs in at only 54 grams. Being that this is designed for FPV drones, GoPro says using Hero 10 Black bones requires some soldering. Soldering equipment not included. Damn, I don't know how to solder, so I'm not getting one of these things, though I'm sure I could look on YouTube and find some soldering videos. Truthfully, this isn't for me, but I guess GoPro thinks that there's a market for it, at least in the US. Now, I say at least in the US because their site also says available in the US only. Yet somehow a YouTuber by the name of, let me see if I can get this one right, Peter McKinnon, somehow all the way up there in Canada, well, he got one. If you're in the US and think this might be for you, it will set you back $550, or you can get $150 off when you sign up for a 1-year GoPro subscription. Next up, Nikon has released their medium-term management plan for 2022 to 2025.
at a medium pace.
You see, their long-term plan is called Vision 2030, not 2020, which would be better because it's better sight than 2030, which I kind of see at 2030 with both eyes, and it used to be really bad like 2080. But anyway, this is why it's the medium term, and it's considered up to 2025. Nikon Rumors did a pretty good job of pulling the salient points from the 43-minute presentation and slide deck. First, for the direction of their imaging product business, Nikon would like to deploy advanced features from the Z9 across their lineup. No shit. It's not like I can recommend a Z6 or Z7 right now for anybody other than, landscape shooters, because fast autofocus is not what these cameras can do. And you shouldn't also need to drop $5,500 on a camera like the Z9 just to get competent AF. On top of that, Nikon would like to bolster engagement before and after purchases, as well as focus on apps and the cloud.
What cloud?
Well, thankfully, they didn't mention VR, Web3, or
Have you ever heard of NFTs?
Another key takeaway is that Nikon wants to concentrate management resources in high-valued added product and mirrorless cameras and raise ASP 20%. Now, ASP means average sale price.
I didn't know that.
On top of that, they want to bolster the Z-mount system with 50+ new lenses by 2025. Look, Nikon is not that far off from where they need to be. If and when they can filter better AF down to less expensive cameras and get out more glass, I think they'll be able to meet their goals. Oh, and my advice to Nikon, get TikTok famous and it will all work out in the end. And finally, out of nowhere, Nikon has just announced firmware 2.0 for the Nikon Z9, just days after I took out the 402.8 TC into the real world with the Z9 to test it out while shooting the Philadelphia Union and the Philadelphia Phillies, which means I have to go shoot again with the new firmware, or the Nikon fan people will yell at me and tell me I'm using the camera that they don't own all wrong.
You fanboy!
Beep, beep. It's true, whatever. Firmware 2.0 is a huge one for the Z9. I mean, look at all these bullet points on the press release. It's kind of like the camera wasn't exactly fully ready when it was pushed out at the end of last year. Now, was it? Phone call. Oh, who could that be? Hello?
This is all wrong.
Oh, it's Greta Thunberg with Nikon PR.
With your empty words? How dare you?
What happened to Madeline?
How dare you?
How dare me? No, how dare you? Goodbye. Now let's start with the photo features that were updated, as that's what I care about the most. They've added 20 types of custom wide area AF selection patterns, giving the user more control over what part of the frame they want to focus on. AF stability has been updated, tracking performance and subject detection in low light situations have been
enhance.
Nikon says for the first time in a mirrorless camera, you will now have the ability to capture up to 1 second of photos before shooting and 4 seconds of photos after shooting when your finger is pressed halfway down on the shutter. Now this is only available when you shoot 30 or 120 frames per second, which means you can only do it when you're shooting JPEG.
It's against his religion.
You can now get a 120 frames per second refresh rate in the EVF. A confirmation of high-speed shooting right in the viewfinder has been added to help you know when you're actually shooting photos when you're in silent, as well as a bunch more that you could check out in the press release. Now, in terms of video, which is where most of the focus of this firmware has been put, you can now record internal and RAW video up to 12-bit with 8.3K 60p and 12-bit ProRes RAW HQ up to 4.1K at 60p. 4K UHD 60p can now be oversampled from 8K, which should give you sharper video. A red record frame has been added to the viewfinder and monitor so you know that you're actually recording, and a bunch more video stuff was also added. Oh, and Nikon also announced firmware 1.40 for the Z6 II and Z7 II, which has improved AF performance. But don't get your hopes up because it's not going to change very much.
You don't have to be an asshole about it.
The Z9 firmware will be available on April 20th, and let's hope that there aren't any issues like Canon had with their firmware that they released recently. There you have it. That's your photo news fix this time around. To check out the last fix, go ahead and click on the screen right here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Jared, Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.